We're going to talk about connection and empathy for a minute. Again, we're here at November 5th, 2 days after the election here in the States, and there's quite a bit of polarization that is manifesting in some language that is not healthy, a lot of accusations going on, and assumptions. And these are narratives that people have in their head that are spinning around and round, and they spin around so many times that it becomes their truth. And that is very sad because that means effectively we've stopped learning and we've stopped being open to other viewpoints and we've stopped being open to other people's stories and other people's histories as they have experienced it and how they've perceived the realities that are external to their own selves. So, how do we improve, particularly in this situation where we're working remotely and we're not shoulder to shoulder, we're not around the water cooler, we're not going to the bar? So, I have. We were polarized, obviously, for a while, and it hit a head in 2015, 2016, and it got even higher over the last 4 years. Now we're in this COVID situation, and people have this even heightened level of disconnectedness. And that is a shame. So, how do we elevate connectedness in remote work? And that's what I'm going to talk to Lawrence Coburn about here shortly. But set the stage here. Ultimately, we as human beings, in my view, want three basic things after the basics of food and shelter. We want to be seen, we want to be heard, and we want to be empowered. And I don't believe many people right now are feeling seen, are feeling heard, are feeling certainly empowered. In fact, they feel ignored, they feel invisible, and they feel that what is happening is actually constraining their ability to do things. And so going back to this notion of connectedness and getting around the water cooler. Steven Pinker, Harvard psychologist, wrote a book years ago, one of many, called The Blank Slate. And it was effectively an 800-page essay on Western society's ignorance of human nature. And I found it to be very enlightening, particularly as a father, someone who now has two teenage kids. Actually, one's about to turn 20, the other 17. So you're older. They're young man, young woman now. But they have had certain predispositions. And Steven Pinker, in that and other works, talks about thought is not based on words and sentences. It's based on stories. The building blocks of thought are stories. So what stories are we hearing from others? What stories are we telling ourselves? And are we actually open to hearing different stories that might challenge our worldview, the narrative that we've held for a long time? And if we don't open ourselves up, then we're not much different than other primates, that where we're not thinking, that we are no longer, we've put our rational selves to the side and forfeited our ability to learn and empathize and connect. And I, for one, don't want that. And I'm working to create communities and environments where we can truly listen, learn, and connect in meaningful ways. So with that in mind, I want to introduce a four key ways of being, if you will, to elevate empathy and connectedness in organizations and in society and within families as well, for that matter, is this idea of being an expert communicator. So most people, when they think of communicating, is I'm communicating outward. But communication is two ways, of course. It's intaking information as well as putting information outward. So how do we do a affirmative inquiry? How do we stay in that mindset of curiosity and compassion? Let's hold that, and we're going to come back to that in a second. The other is systematic thinking. Now, this, talk about predisposition. Some people think strategically. They can take a somewhat of omniscient point of view and see how the dots connect currently, how they've connected over time, and have some idea of how they could connect based on certain changes that would happen in the current state. So this idea that we're well aware of our wake. So if I leave the room, is the room better off, the people within it, than when I enter the room? I try and do that. I try and elevate that insight and idea with our kids. It's like, hey, let's bring positive energy and ideas to the world. That is predicated in part on this growth mindset. If I walk in with this insatiable curiosity and willingness to learn and not judge, but really say, okay, tell me more about that. This is what I hear. Is this correct? Those simple techniques to ensure someone feels seen, someone feels heard, it is massive, particularly in this remote work environment. Practicing those skills in front of the screen is as important now as when we were in person. And in some cases, it's easier because we don't have the energy exchange, the physical intimidation potentially, or the physical environment where we might be more shy to do that. So take advantage of this remote work and actually practice growth mindset and staying in curiosity. At the end of the day, we as human beings, we want certainty. Certainty is comfortable. Elevated confidence that if A is existing and we do B, then C is going to result. Unfortunately, that's not how life works. If A is in place and B happens, C might happen to a certain level of confidence. It's not a sure thing. So as we're talking to other people and you're listening and learning, it's the case where, okay, if we do this, well, that might help. There might be some costs to that, but what's the trade-off? And having open discussion about it. And to put a note on this, I have an issue with the hatred in our society and the fact that some people are okay discriminating against others. And I, for one, am not. So what I am practicing is staying in curiosity with them. What's going on for them? What's their pain point? What's their ideal future state? And that's not easy for me because I find it to be very, very simple and very straightforward. Some others don't. So I'm trying to empathize, trying to find a way forward. And I do not know if that's the model, frankly, because at some point, if someone's not willing to learn and actually engage in this type of discussion with reciprocal openness and curiosity and compassion, then there's going to be an impasse. And unfortunately, that's where I see many people in our society now. But my hope is that we can create these environments so we can actually connect. And that's what I'm going to talk to Lawrence about here shortly, right after this break. So thanks for being here today, and we'll talk to you in a couple minutes.